So, I want to address something important that is coming up a lot right now and has come up already in the past too. And that is, how can you, Sienna, be having this crazy stuff coming out of your liver when you have been doing all the right things for years, years and years? You have been on the cleanest diets, you've been taking care of your health, you've been, frankly, not doing a lot of what a lot of people are doing and just being so careful with your health. Well, yes, I have had, I have spent remarkable dedication and effort and time taking care of my health in a lot of ways. And as I've been chronically ill for 10 years, I explored first and especially really in depth diets for healing and cleansing and detoxing. I went deep with a variety of diets, but I'll especially touch on today some of the more cleansing diets. So, medical medium diet being a prominent one that I followed quite fastidiously to the T for about 5 years. And that included 5 years of daily celery juice in the morning, sometimes up to 32 ounces of celery juice daily. I also was doing his heavy metal detox ingredients, smoothies, all the supplements, and eating raw, mostly eating extremely low fat for long periods of time for years, eating very little animal products. And then I moved also into deeper cleansing states, such as fruitarianism and fasting. Throughout 6 years or so, I completed a variety of fasts of different lengths and different kinds. I did multiple 2-week long, like 14-day versions of water fasting. I also did some experimenting with dry fasting and, of course, juice fasting and periods of time with only fruit. And so, yeah, all these things are very cleansing, right? They're very clean. And all throughout this time, I haven't been drinking alcohol. I haven't been doing, pharmaceuticals of any kinds, no pain pills, despite, plenty of pain. A variety of things I don't do, including even being exposed to much city kinds of pollution or city kinds of radiation levels. So, again, it's easy to think, well, you must be completely clean as a whistle inside, But it's like, yeah, I thought I could get there with those ways too. And in fact, even some of the people like Anthony William, medical medium, do not suggest doing liver flushing. He's pretty against it. And so I stopped, and I took a long break from that. I wish I didn't, but he has these different kinds of liver cleanses that you do, which I also did religiously, like the 3-6-9, 9 days cleanse, working with the liver, and I did those and experienced some relief, but it's like seeing what has come out of my liver, I'm like, how many days of that kind of diligence, how many years of following a strict liver cleansing protocol of his in, 3-day increments, how many years of that would it take to eat my way through, to color with nutrients of blueberries and fruits and wash with the waters of these beautiful life-giving fruits? How many years would it take to wear away that debris and that sludge and that grime and these stones, And I did. I gave it a shot. I gave it a long shot. I gave it years of my life, of that strict dedication. And I do think that probably those diets and protocols and fasts that I did something and purified something on a cellular level. But there are pockets inside of ourselves that aren't touched by the regular day-to-day, fiber brooms going through, or the nutrients flushing through the bloodstream. There are some areas of our body that are like basically hazmat toxic waste dumps that don't regularly get turned over. And that's what you get access to with the liver flushes. And this is why, I could be and live so clean for so long and still have these residual pockets of toxic hazmat material inside of me. And those things, they didn't build up in the recent time. Once you have like a lot of congestion in the liver, it is kind of a spiraling effect, and it will build on itself. It will get worse, it will snowball kind of. But I came into this world from a lineage that had alcoholism in the family pretty strongly. And on my very first day of birth, or shortly after birth, I had a bit of jaundice. And so that shows you a bit of a struggling liver. And I also always, my birth story sounds so good, and I have wondered what really happened, because I have some obvious sort of trauma tendrils from that moment. And what I think was one of the things that happened is that the umbilical cord was cut too early. And Andreas Moritz actually even talks about this in his books, about that when the cord is cut too early, the body isn't quite ready to process everything, even just the metabolic wastes that have happened and that are happening as you're transitioning over to oxygen breathing. Oxygen is a really strong compound, and just getting our cellular structure up to working in that way is there's a lot of changeover that needs to happen, and the newborn liver isn't actually totally up for processing all of that. And so the umbilical cord should be there to allow a sort of backup cleansing activity through the mom that's going to help the baby process into its new reality. If the umbilical cord is cut really soon, then that all falls on the baby's organs, and primarily the liver, and it can be a bit too much. And even from the very instant of basically being born, you can develop stones. Andreas Moritz talks about that. And so once you start developing stones, or say you also came in with certain weaknesses in the liver department, which is, again, becoming more and more common because of the increasing toxicity of our world and the generations. So you come in with, weakness in the liver, and then you're fed, you're injected with poisons and you're fed poisons. And the young livers really, they're just not meant to be dealing with like quite that much heavy lifting. And so we can start to be building up these stones right away. And unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of children who actually have severely congested livers, and it's becoming quite an epidemic. It really wasn't like this, just a generation ago, but it's changing rapidly. And so, although I was a relatively healthy kid, I did have some signs, I'd say at this point, of some liver issues. One of them was pretty pretty high charge anger issues that my parents had a hard time with. And then, there was some, basic malnourishment that's just common in the way that we feed and care for ourselves generally. And especially children growing up in the 90s or whatever. The way that I was brought up, we had cocoa wheats and white tortillas with cream cheese, when I was lucky. And then there are so many things that can contribute to gallstone and intrahepatic stone formation. But one of those things is, lack of certain nutrients and metabolites that you need, and an overabundance of toxins. And then it also becomes sort of this spiraling out of control situation. And I had some toxin exposures that were pretty strong. I had some malnourishment that was really strong, partially self-inflicted, in my teenage years. And have I unraveled exactly why my case was so severe by such a young age? I became bedridden by the age of 20, and I got taken out really hard. And then it's like I'm still uncovering these masses of like really creepy sludge that have been lodged inside of my organ in the center of my body. And it's all starting to make more sense, but that doesn't mean I can totally explain exactly which thing at what point made all of this, toxic congestion in my liver. But it does have this snowballing effect. And I can definitely say that is not the last 8 years of my life, 8-10 years of my life that have been putting this stuff in my liver. It was screaming for help, much before that. And that's when the rest of my body started to break down, when that liver was just totally full and overwhelmed, So I just wanted to put this out there and let you know that, a lot of techniques don't get to the deepest layers. A lot of techniques, they're awesome in their own ways and what they do, and for sort of clearing some things, but they're more surface, and to actually go into those deepest parts and dump something out so that it has a chance to regenerate. Now that is not something that all techniques offer, and that is not something that diets can offer you necessarily. That is something that fasting might be able to offer you. But again, this is like a lot of fasting, to eat through all of that. And it's like, also, it doesn't seem like the best idea to have to metabolize it all yourself through your body, because it's toxic stuff in there. So it's like, might as well just move it out if you can, I know that it's been a rocky road with me and my liver as I've been moving these huge loads out, but I also can tell that my liver is happy and that we are working together. We're working together, and my liver is relieved that I'm paying attention to it and that I'm helping it out, because it's been doing its best, but it's like it can't do that kind of lifting on its own. It does help in the process for sure, but it's like we have to work together, and we have to just apply this incredibly simple technique to turn our insides out and get to those deepest layers. And I really feel inspired about this work, and I believe that my 12 years of efforts and dedication to my healing and this path is a testimony that sometimes you need more than just clean eating, and more than just supplements, and more than just saunas and fasting and all that, So I'm happy to share that bit with you, and I hope that helps clear up some confusion about how you could possibly be eating as clean as a Siena and still end up with these gnarly things coming out of your liver years later. So they're from the past, they're from a long time ago, and it sure feels like a brand new day and a brand new possibility for life to get them out finally. So So thank you, and wishing for all true liberation. Siena Songbird.